manna and quail. The whole Israelite community set out from Elim and came to the desert of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they had come out of Egypt. In the desert, the whole community grumbled against Moses and Aaron. The Israelites said to them, "If only we had died by the Lord's hand in Egypt. There we sat around pots of meat and ate all the food we wanted. But you have brought us out into this desert to starve this entire assembly to death." Now, regarding a little bit of backstory from what we just read again 1 through 5, then 6 through 10, and then 11 through 15. So they went from slavery to seeing all of the wonders, the plagues, and the miracles that were performed by God, being able to become free, and then again being fearful again because the king of Egypt and his army pursued them outside of Egypt. They cross on dry land, across the Red Sea on dry land, and they get to turn back and see that basically the Egyptians were completely wiped out. And yet again, we're coming across an issue. We're coming across reliance on God, faith. And so when I read this, I just can't help but wonder, like, it's really reflects on us as individuals. And so sometimes we have to also, I want to say, how do I see this? This is serious, as well as in order to get through it, sometimes we have to look at it as, wow, like sometimes ourselves we go through what I would consider humorous phases, silly phases that we have, which are like, wow, what was I thinking? What was I doing back during that time? Or why did I ask this? Or why was I nagging or being concerned and just not having faith? I just, sometimes you have to look back and kind of take it into consideration. So at this time, here we go again. The Israelites were just let out of out of Egypt, and they're in the desert, and they're complaining. They're complaining to Moses and Aaron. Then the Lord said to Moses, "I will rain down bread from heaven for you. The people are to go out each day and gather enough for that day. In this way, I will test them and see whether they will follow my instructions. On the sixth day, they are to prepare what they bring in, and that is to be twice as much as they gather on the other days." So already God is answering Moses with instructions, and he's also going to test his people because it's showing us where our heart is. It's showing us where Israel's heart is, where their thought process is. So Moses and Aaron said to all the Israelites, "In the evening you will know that it was the Lord who brought you out of Egypt, and in the morning you will see the glory of the Lord, because he has heard your grumbling against him." "Who are we that you should grumble against us?" Moses also said. "You will know that it was the Lord when he gives you meat to eat in the evening and all the bread you want in the morning, because he has heard your grumbling against him. Who are we? You are not grumbling against us, but against the Lord." So right there is a serious charge. It's a serious charge to the people. It's saying, we've been through all of this together, and you are still grumbling. You're not grumbling. They're not grumbling against their leader at the time, which is Moses. They're literally grumbling against the Lord, and he wants them to know that. And so in our lives, we have to look at that as well. What does that say to you? How do you feel about that? Have you noticed somebody receiving a blessing and then grumbling about it, or being annoyed, or not being grateful, or not being humbled by it? Have you yourself went through that something similar? Is there an instance where you can think of? I know for me, when every now and then I'll be like, oh, this isn't the first car I wanted. When I was young, I wanted a specific car at the time, and I believe it was going to be a Mustang. That was very far from what my first vehicle actually was, a Cadillac Brougham. If you know what those are, they're quite large. It was blue. It was blue. It wasn't a Mustang. But at the same time, I was not so much, how do I say, not as annoyed, but I was kind of like, oh, this isn't what I pictured. But at the same time, I was actually happy for a set of wheels. It wasn't quite the wheels that I was looking for, but with that being said, I had a lot of adventures in that Cadillac Brougham. That was a very, very interesting and nice and blessed vehicle to have at that time. I got respect on the road. They're full steel. They're full steel cars. So when people saw me coming up on them, especially on the highway, they would move out of the way. I got respect. In fact, that is the only vehicle that I've had to this day that I had respect. Just driving on the road anywhere, particularly the highway, but it was a great experience, a great vehicle, but it wasn't something that I had originally wanted, but it wasn't something that I needed to have. And it was up to God. It wasn't up to myself. I couldn't just continually pick and choose throughout my life what I have to have and what my needs are. I don't know what those are. God knows what I need. And so I have to put more reliance on God and expect and know that He's going to come through. He's going to provide what I need when I need it. And so, with that being said, here we are with the Israelites, and they're grumbling against the Lord, and Moses is telling them,